Hypochondriasis, an anxiety disorder where the patient believes that they are ill without evidence. David Beichels here is a sufferer.
How do you feel?
Sick.
Hypochondriasis, yeah?
Something like that.
When did you first start noticing symptoms?
Well, I've always been a worrier since I was young. I can remember a number of phantom illnesses, as my mother called them, from a fairly young age. It's unusual for this to develop so early, isn't it?
Yes, quite. It normally doesn't appear until around the middle of a person's life, often coinciding with the age that health concerns begin to become a more serious and chronic affair. Your case is exceptionally rare. You knew that already, didn't you? Let's talk about your mother. How did she address these pains?
David's mother was a source of anxiety for him. He didn't feel that she believed he had any real ailments at all. And with his father, they often insisted that he be a man and just deal with this made-up illness.
She was less than supportive. I think that's where I got this feeling of fraudulence that I've been carrying with me my whole life.
Your mother didn't believe you were in pain?
After months of false alarms, who would? I would beg her to take me to the doctor, but she wasn't having it by the time I was old enough to actually want to miss school. It'd already been too much, she told me. He wouldn't see me again. I don't think that was true, but I decided to take matters into my own hands and started researching all sorts of chest and abdominal afflictions. I know now that it didn't do me any good and probably only magnified the anxiety I already had, but at the time it seemed crazy not to worry nonstop about this stuff.
This research really exacerbated your anxiety. Interesting. Now let's think about the disorder itself. It is unusual for a client to develop the level of self-awareness that you have. Normally they continue to blame their illness on an unforeseen malignancy that conveniently evades tests and exams. Did you see doctors regularly?
Yeah, after a few years of this, I'll go from doctor to doctor, nurse to nurse. Anybody would give me some sort of test. I've been admitted to and even kicked out of plenty of hospitals. More ambulance rides than I can count.
You shopped around for different health professionals. Why?
I was looking for someone who would finally tell me what was wrong with me. I knew there was something. Every time they would tell me it was nothing. I was worrying too much. He even called me a hypochondriac. I wanted someone to reassure me that there was a problem and hopefully take care of it.
So let me get this straight. You wanted someone to affirm the decision you had already made in your mind. The decision to be sick.
This struck a chord with David. As far as he had come in recognizing his illness, he had only just come to terms with the fact that he indeed had been the cause of his own sickness.
I didn't see it that way then. It was like I had some sort of disappearing cancer tumor. It was there, they just couldn't see it. I could feel it, but it wasn't there. It was maddening. I felt obsessed.
Did you, at this point, consider the fact that you could be a hypochondriac?
It crossed my mind. I thought things would be different if I were. I thought hypochondriacs were just faking it for attention and they knew they really weren't sick. What I had was different, I thought. It was really there.
When did you start to receive treatment for your true illness?
I bounced around doctors for a few years. Every once in a while, they would throw out that word, hypochondriac. I took it as an insult. I guess it's because there's a stigma associated with it, like you're a faker. Some of the doctors would say it in a way that I'm sure was purposely trying to put me down for wasting their time. I heard that word so much it started to stick with me.
Is this the point where you started to see the truth?
I think so. During one of my research sessions, of which there were many, I toyed with the thought of hypochondria. I looked it up just to see what the fuss was about. Why did everyone seem to think I had it? Why did some say it was such disgust?
Were you upset at what you found?
Well, of course, at first, I mean. I'd been on a mission my whole life to discover the mystery sickness that had somehow managed to elude all these tests. Here it was, staring me right in the face, laughing at me, taunting me, saying it was all a ruse and that I really had been making it up the whole time.
You must have felt very frustrated about that.
I was angry, but I tried to look at it rationally. This could have been the answer I was looking for. I couldn't disregard it no matter how much I didn't want it to be true.
Did you talk to a doctor about that?
Yes. I had to find answers. I talked to who I hoped would be my last doctor.
Did you enjoy the doctor?
This doctor in particular, or in general?
In general.
David felt catharsis when he received a test, and it came up negative, as they always seemed to. For a brief while, he would be normal as he imagined it. He could live happily with the hope that perhaps it had indeed been nothing after all.
I suppose so. I felt safe in hospitals. This has to be one of the few times of solace I would get. Most times I told myself that this test, this screening, this scan, whatever it was, would be the last when they finally found it. It would finally identify the problem and set me down the path of finding a treatment, and then I would be free.
You felt trapped by this, like it was weighing you down.
Exactly.
Good. Now we can understand your situation a little bit better. So you started therapy.
At this point, yeah. Another hospital, nothing new. But the psych ward was something that I didn't see very often. I was usually getting CAT scans on my chest looking for tumors or whatever.
Are you scared?
I think so. In the back of my mind, I didn't want to be a hypochondriac. This is the first test I actually wanted to be negative. I remember when I first walked in, it felt like the thing in my chest was about to explode. It was so real to me. It was real, more real than you.
Ironic, isn't it? You were evaluated. Now is that right?
Right. Lots of tests, but not the kind that I normally liked. Scans and whatnot. They were psychological. Lots of questions about stuff that I didn't like to think about, let alone talk about.
What were the results?
Of course, it was hypochondria. Symptomatically, I was a textbook case. A few anomalous things like early onset, but beyond that, I was the most cut and dry case you could have. It sort of bugged me that it was so obvious, yet I still couldn't see it. But to my credit, neither could the droves of doctors I saw in years prior. It did make diagnosis and treatment a lot easier.
Your medical record must have been quite thorough by this point.
That's one way of putting it.
What was the treatment?
I was recommended to a cognitive behavioral therapist. His treatment, combined with light medication of Zoloft, which is an antidepressant, turned out to be exactly what I needed.
Really? What do you mean?
Well, CBT is all about teaching someone to change their cognitive process, which basically modifies all their thoughts, ideas, and perceptions from negative ones to positive ones. One thing it really helped me with was controlling those automatic, intrusive thoughts that seemed to zip right out of my conscious mind directly into the spotlight of my brain. I thought they would never go away. I still get them occasionally, but now I have the power to defend against them.
You seem to know a lot about CBT.
Shouldn't I? It's what helped me.
It did help us. Indeed.
Ultimately, hypochondriasis is an anxiety disorder, and when it's treated as such, rather than a physical ailment as the sufferers would like to have you believe, it can be beaten. Thanks to CBT, I have the tools that I need to be my own doctor, too.
Cognitive behavioral therapy coupled with his medication was successful in rehabilitating David from his hypochondriasis. While it would never fully cure him, he could manage his life and thoughts to the point that he could go about his ways in peace.
How do you feel?
Better. I just wish my subconscious were more professional.